If your shoulder's clicking no matter how many band exercises or stretches you've tried, then take a deep breath because it's not your fault. You've just been told to target the wrong problem. Here's why. You see, something I've learned over the past 60 years of being a sports massage therapist is that when a muscle ends up getting short and tight, thanks to overuse, it can end up creating some kind of compression in some area and then tension in other areas. And the reason why I bring this up is because anytime you hear that clicking sound in your shoulder, it's going to be thanks to some kind of compression or tension in the shoulder. That's why we have to look at the anatomy around it and see what muscles are in play anytime there is movement. Now, we're just going to skip the anatomy portion and just save the trouble and jump straight into the answer, which is going to be the supraspinatus. This is a rotator cuff muscle that when it gets short and tight, it can actually pull on the humerus into the socket of the scapula, into the shoulder basically. And what's happening here is creating compression in that ball and socket. So now anytime you move your arm, you are trying to move it in a way where it has to grind or move through the other tissues, the cartilage, which once it finally releases, you get that popping sound, right? That snap in the muscle itself, the tendon. Now, if that muscle had its normal length, its normal ability, right, to move properly, then that humerus in the ball and socket should have plenty of space to move and therefore not create that clicking sound, that popping sound. So basically, tight muscles are pulling it in, so every time you move it, it has to move through those tissues, which is what you're hearing when it finally releases. Now, how do you fix this? In order to locate your supraspinatus, all you need to do is go into the triangle on top of your shoulder and go into that corner farthest towards the shoulder. So if you take a look at the clavicle and the scapula from a top view and from a superior view, then what we can see here is a little bit of a triangle, and we want to hit that top portion in order to get into the supraspinatus. Now, we obviously have the upper traps there getting in the way. What you want to do here is put your arm on top of an elevated surface right next to your body. And what this is going to do is basically push your traps up a little bit in a passive contraction, basically, which is going to make it easier to get through them into the supraspinatus, into that rotator cuff muscle. Now, once you're able to find that little corner, go ahead and dig a little bit and look for that tender spots and begin doing some micro movements on there for about 30 seconds to a minute. All you're doing here is simply rubbing it out, going back and forth and side to side, trying to help grind out that trigger points in order to allow that muscle to fully lengthen. Now, from here, we can also jump into a pin and stretch. Go ahead and pin down that most tender spot that you can find, and then take that shoulder and drop it down as far down as you can to your side, reset, and then repeat. The idea here is that when it's pinned down up in the top, the muscle is contracted, and then when you bring the arm down, we're able to stretch it out. You can even try bringing your arm out behind your back in order to put it onto a little more of a stretch.